Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tools and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively.
Welcome back, everyone. I have guest Corbie Mitleid here with me today. Corbie is a psychic medium who has been reading since 1973. She has traveled all over as a full-time intuitive counselor, inspirational speaker, and facilitator. Corbie is a past life specialist, ordained minister, and a certified tarot reader. She is also the author of Clean Out Your Life Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? Welcome, Corbie. I'm so glad to have you on the show with us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for asking.
So today we're going to dive a little bit into a variety of things, basically anything that you'd want to ask a psychic. So I have come up with a variety of questions, and I also want to talk a little bit about your book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, later on in the show.
Okay.
So Corbie, how did and when did you first learn that you were psychic?
30-second elevator speech, my dear. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. I thought, ooh, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school. And yes, my darlings, that does tell you how old I am. That was the year Live and Let Die came out. Spencer Gifts had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it. Because we were all hippies then. Fringe jacket, elephant bell bottoms in your deck. Now, 5 years later, everybody else moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was fascinated by the cards. So I kept reading for 20 years, making sure that my ego was on the shelf and I was a clear channel. All of a sudden in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. So did it part-time with a lot of other careers until 9/11, when I turned to my husband and I said, I must do the psychic work full-time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So since then, it's 6 days a week. I read 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning, and that's the biggest gift.
Oh, that's amazing. So, all right. So I worked in organ donation for nearly 20 years, and that's when I learned I could talk to dead people and hear dead people as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But first.
Okay, I want to stop you right there because what you brought up is so desperately important. Listen to me, guys. I'm not special. Tanya's not special. You can do what we do. We are all wired the same way. Now go on with your story.
No, absolutely. And that was one of my questions too, is, we all have these abilities. So how do we develop these abilities?
All right. Notice I went and got my own book. Well, there's another one I'm going to tell you all about. Boom. Oop. Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer, How to Connect with Your Guides. It's been around for decades. It's how I learned and taught myself. It keeps you safe. It shows you exercises. It says this works, this doesn't. Because when you're playing upstairs, that's like going into a strange neighborhood. And when you go up there unprepared, it's like going into a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You do not know who's hearing you, but they heard you and they're coming. So you really do need to know how to ground, center, and shield and what to expect. But then, welcome aboard. There are billions of people in the world, kids, and I can't read them all. We need new intuitives. We really do.
Absolutely. And so here's my next question. Can you shut these abilities on and off at will?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's important that you learn to do that, because now you're creeping up on what I call one of my little hot buttons, and that's drive-by psychic shootings. That's, you watch the Long Island Medium and some woman is in Wegmans feeling up the cantaloupes, and the Long Island Medium comes up and says, excuse me, your Aunt Dora, she has a message for you. Your back tire is bald and you're going to die in a week if you don't get it fixed. Just telling you, walks away. This does not happen. Number one. Her PR team went out to all the Wegmans grocery stores on Long Island and chose one. Then they interviewed people and had them sign legal model releases, and then they rehearsed it 6 times.
Interesting. First of all, I
But
love
the thing,
Wegmans, by the way. I'm an East Coast
oh,
gal.
Weggies, baby, I'm upstate New York, Wegmans.
I was Western New York. Okay.
There you go. But people see that and they assume that's the way it goes. And it's not. Because one of the reasons people are scared of people like me is because they think we have no boundaries and no morals. Now, if that happened with someone from Lilydale, one of the most important
exactly
spiritual community in the world, they would come up to you and say, excuse me, but my name is Reverend Shirley and I'm from Lilydale. I believe I have a message for you. May I come to you? Those are the magic words. Because if you say no, they shut it off and they go.
Absolutely. And
so yes for boundary. Absolutely yes for boundaries.
I love that. So, you know, say for example, I'm highly intuitive, and there's times when I am driving and I'll be driving through an area and then I'm getting all of this information, this downloaded information from what I appear to be maybe earthbound spirits. I hear names, I hear information. Sometimes it can be really overwhelming for me. What is some advice that you can give for, because I know I'm not the only one that goes through this, that, you know, on how to shut that off.
You need to get stronger shields. And frankly, I have an agreement with my guides. Couple of things. Number one, I have an open and a closed sign. The way I will read you is we sit down and there's a money exchange, or there's a barter. You bring me a chicken, or it's a gift. It's pro bono. Otherwise, yes, I can get overwhelmed, and I choose not to do that. Just as my guides know, I don't want to take a look when somebody is crossing over. Once they're there, I will talk to them, but we have more than one place that we can choose to exit. And the psychics that say, yes, you are going to die in 14 years because I'm sorry, that is irresponsible and unprofessional and frankly illegal in a whole bunch of states. So, but other than that, those are my rules. You're within them. I will be happy to read you. Other than that, the only time when they come in freely is when I'm home. And sometimes I will get soldiers that need to be crossed over from the gray spaces. Yeah, I'll deal with them because they're the ones coming to me and I can help them cross. But no, your dead Aunt Mabel is not going to say, you're going to talk to my girl tomorrow. I want you to tell her. No, Aunt Mabel can stand in line and wait until I contact.
And so when those soldiers come in, because I've had that too, I do a lot of land clearing. And so when they come in, is, you know, how do you send them to the light? How do you guide them to the light? Is there a simple way, you know, that you could share?
Well, there is, because one of the past lives of mine that I know very well is when I was a World War I German pilot. So especially in Atlanta, when I was first doing this, I'd get the German soldiers. And I remember there was one, he came in, he was, you know, a trench soldier and butter blonde hair, but this much of his face was gone because it had been blown away. First thing they always ask you is who won, and you have to explain to them it doesn't matter anymore how far ahead they are. You make sure that they forgive the person who killed them, they forgive themselves for the harm they caused, and then I just embrace them and they can get into the light.
Okay, that's awesome. And yeah, because I do notice that happens with me often, not all the time, but occasionally, and especially in certain areas there could be a more than one, you know, coming through. So I often will call in Archangel Michael or just the light to just assist, you know, and my guides. And yeah, so
when
Corbie,
I first got this, before I knew how to shield, I was in Verdun. And it, you know, I mean, that's one of the most huge carnage places in World War I. And my room was thick with ghosts. It was like a party line. I didn't sleep. It's one of the reasons I went home and immediately learned how to shield.
Yeah, and that's pertinent, and because I'm really good at it at my home, but I think when I notice it is when I'm in a, you know, a paranormal location or just an area with high energy, you know, ley lines, vortexes, all that good jazz, right?
Work with your guides, and they're your wingmen, to use aviation parlance. They will keep things in line for you.
Okay.
So you're not overwhelmed.
Awesome. So, you know what, we know we have all the abilities. What are your strongest abilities that you recognize, you know, when you're reading people?
All right. I'm going to tell you how I got mine, but it's also how you'll find yours. When Spirit hands you your draft notice and you accept it, it goes rifling in your internal file cabinet to see what you got. With me, actress, theater major at Brown, acted in New York, 80s and 90s. So I know character arcs. Words are my drug of choice. I am a writer, so I can tell stories. And I have been a history freak since I was a wee thing in single digits. You put all that together, and my special talents are reading tarot and oracle cards and weaving the stories and doing past life retrieval, which is different from regression. Regression is when you get hypnotized and you go wandering in the Akashic. Retrieval, which is when you bring me a situation, I go up to the Akashic, pull down the book and say, read chapter 2.
Oh,
On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art because I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. Not my wheelhouse.
Not my reality.
Nope.
That's cool. I do past life regression, but I didn't realize there was retrieval. That's really cool. And I work a lot with the Akashic too. And so that's neat. I love that. I love that you can go up there and just say, okay, I got to go to this past life, bring some information forward for me. That's really neat.
Yes, that is what I did for Robert Schwartz in his book series. To give you, people say, well, why would you retrieve? What's that? Quick story. There was a woman who came to me and said, I'm really worried about my son. He's 29 years old, won't make a decision without me. Won't live more than a mile from me. What's going on? And I said, okay, 1944, Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your kid's a soldier. He's got a lot of shrapnel wounds in his leg. You're his commanding officer. So you go crawl over the dune. You grab him. You pull him over the dune to safety. You take some shrapnel yourself too, but you both live. And I opened my eyes and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yeah, you were sergeant. She goes, he's called me sergeant since he was 3 years old and we've never known why. Boom.
There you go. That is awesome. That is so cool. So, Corbie, what's the difference between a psychic and a medium, and what's a psychic medium?
Okay. All mediums are psychic. Not all psychics are mediums. A psychic medium is the one right in the middle. Psychics can have any number of talents. Psychometry, which is where you pick up an object and you read it. Channeling, tarot reading, whatever. Mediums specifically talk to dead people.
Okay.
Talking to your guides or an angel or something like that, that is channeling. Very different thing.
Okay. So, so medium, talking to dead people. How, so say, for example, you're developing your psychic abilities and you don't want to see a full-on apparition at the end of your bed at 3 a.m. How do you make that not happen? Especially when you're first starting to wake up.
You tell your guides, you go, look, I cannot handle this. So please make sure that this does not happen.
Okay.
And see, that's why it's important to really connect with your guides first, because they want to help you. They're not going to tell you whether to eat peas or carrots for dinner or buy the red car or the blue car. But with spiritual stuff like this, they will absolutely help.
And it's just verbal. You don't have, do you have to write it down or just verbal to them?
No. Once you connect, they're there.
Okay.
You will feel them. You will hear them in a different part of your brain. So, my original spirit guides were people I flew with 100 years ago on the Western Front. I have other spirit guides now as well, but they're always here when I need them. We held each other's lives in our hands 100 years ago. Why would they not help now?
That's really cool. So, what types of questions should someone ask a psychic or a psychic medium for that matter?
Ask the empowering things, please. If you say, is my business going to be successful? I will look at you over my glasses like, Sister Mary Elephant, and I'll go, and what if I said, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question. You ask, how do I make my business successful?
Okay.
And then I'm not going to just flip a couple of cards and say, wait until January and fire the redhead. What does that do for you? Card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. All of that is going to give you real information. Besides, if you ask a yes or no question to the Madam Hoo-Ha's or the Swami Swalandas, they'll go, oh no, it will fail because you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small, we books. And they're going to hook you in to $400 worth of blessed candles, and you have to come see them every week, and. So you ask questions that will help you. Don't ask, does Bruce love me? Ask, can you tell me about my relationship with Bruce? Then for me, it's a card for you, Bruce, the relationship, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. If you then look at me and say, I still don't know what to do, I'm going to pull my 3 3s. 3 cards for status quo. You don't do much, you just bumble along. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting. It's a line in the sand and it's serious counseling. 3 cards for hostile or bye-bye. It's been nice, I'll see you. And I don't care if the leave thing has a big blinking sign that says Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I zip it. You must make the decision. That's your free will. The only exception is if you tell me you are being gaslit or abused or battered, and then the reader's turban comes off and my reverend collar goes on, and I will counsel you how to leave because your life's in danger.
Okay.
Other than that, it has to be your decision.
Interesting. And so, yeah, my sister and I went to a psychic in Casadega, Florida, which is the Lily Dale of the South, right? So
Yes, Lily Dale with a suntan.
Yeah. So I went there and I had a reading and I had a bunch of questions. Well, she came up with my sister and we started talking about her, and it came up that she was going to have an oops baby. Well, the reader had told me not to share that with her, but of course I did because I thought it was funny, you know. Well, for 5 years, she was terrified that she was going to have an oops baby. So my question is leading into, can you change, the future if a psychic tells you that something's going to happen?
Darling, listen carefully. Even the best of us, only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he's not doing private readings this week.
So it's all free will. It's all your free will, right?
It is. Now, we may see things that you don't want, but I'm going to say what I see. Because if I hide it, then I'm using my ego to blunt things. There was a woman in Kitchener, Ontario. I saw a couple of possible challenges, and she looks at me and she gets up. She says, "You suck," and she walks away. Okay. Next time I'm back in Kitchener, who's the first person to sit down with me? She goes, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember. Because you told me that I was probably going to want to sell my house, but I was going to take in a boarder first. And I thought that was all bull. But my daughter moved home because she was pregnant. And now I want to sell my house to raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger."
Don't shoot the messenger, babe.
Yeah. Did she have to? No, but she chose to.
So as a reader, are you seeing certain timelines that people could potentially be on?
Sometimes, yes. It depends on what they ask. Okay. I generally will look about 18 months out in my standard 10-card Celtic spread. If they want me to look for, where's the next guy, that's usually 2 years, month by month. Finances maybe 5 years out, but it's more and more difficult now because the world is so nuts.
Yeah, it really is. And so is there such a thing as a bad psychic or a bad reading? And if there is, how do you know? How can you tell?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, the man
are there charlatans out there, Corbie?
Darling, there have to be, because there is no better business bureau for psychics. It's one of the reasons that I encourage anybody who's working with me, get yourself paper trained. What does that mean? I'm a certified professional tarot reader through the Tarot Certification Board of America, which is no longer around. I am a certified tarot master through the International Tarot Guild. I am a member of the American Tarot Association. It means I take my business seriously. I have a code of ethics. I'm a professional. Okay. If the psychic tries to hook you in, okay, I have a message from your dead grandmother coming around, and I'll tell you what it is. Or I see a spirit over your shoulder. Or what I really frosts me, I do a free reading hour once a month on Facebook. And there are lots of us who will do free reading hours. Guaranteed. The really slimy poachers, a lot of them have an African Nigerian name or something really weird. They'll slip in and they'll post to the questions that are posted. "Darling, please come to me. My beloved, I have a special reading for you." And these are poachers. Number one, if you're that good a psychic, why are you poaching somebody else's? Why can't you get your own people? And these are the people that will take your credit card and run havoc, because they'll say, "I found a curse," or "You have an evil spirit and you have to pay me $6,000 or I will let it get you." And people who don't know believe this. That's one of the reasons that there are a couple of things that I don't do in my free reading hours. One of them is I won't do health questions because I'm okay, but I will send you to my friend Stacey Wells, who is, to me, the best medical intuitive in the US. I am not a bruja. I am not a witch. So if you have curse problems, etc., I will send you on the West Coast to Katrina and Eric Rasbold of Crossroads Occult. On the East Coast, my friend Tiffany Butler of Raven Hollow Ranch. She is a shaman. She's got a doctorate in metaphysical studies. So I'll give you everybody I know. The real intuitives don't grab money just to grab money. They care enough about their clients that they will refer them out to the right people if we're not your folks.
And they feel confident enough to do that. I know I do. There's times I've had people come to me and I said, listen, I can't help you, but I know who can. I know who I can guide you to. And that's important because I know, Corbie, even on Instagram, I get those hit up in my messages all the time. Oh, I read your energy and I feel that, you know, I could give you a reading. I'm like, that is just such a bunch of bogus. So it's really just using your discernment when, you know, these people are coming at you like this.
I know. I'm just rude. I say, did you read my bio? Do you realize I've been doing this longer than you've been alive? No, thank you.
Exactly. So let's dive into tarot, Corbie. What is tarot?
Tarot is the deck that everybody is familiar in. Live and Let Die. Jane Seymour Solitaire read it. It's what you see in the Bad B movies. But one of the things that I do is, because people have seen it in all the Bad B movies, I give people 3 rules in the beginning. Number 1, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, you stop me right there, Corbie, back it up and do it again. Number 2, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, you're going to stop me right there, Corbie, back it up and do it again. You can tell I'm flipping through the cards because there are a couple I want to show you.
Yeah.
And there are 3 cards that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. If they come up, I'll tell you what they mean because it ain't that. For instance, the Tower card, everybody thinks is doom, gloom, and destruction, but I say no. I want you to think of it like the imploding sports stadium card. Red Sox want to build a new stadium in Boston. They got to blow up Fenway first and clear the ground. So this is telling you heavy change is coming. Be ready, but run toward the change instead of away from it, because that's when you can control it better. No, this does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. The Death card is death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place. And this is not Mr. Horns in a Tail. It is not even Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. It is being bedeviled by...
No, I'm just kidding.
It is being bedeviled by something, someone, or some situation, or holding yourself back from your highest and best. When you can explain the allegory in these cards, people are less afraid. People will remember what you told them, and they're better able to use the information. Now, that's tarot. Tarot is very standard. 78 cards, 22 majors, 14 cards in the 4 suits. On the other hand, you've got things like oracle cards, and I have 8 different decks. This one happens to be my Ganesh deck. For those of you who don't know who Ganesh is, he's the Hindu Lord of Obstacles. He is ubiquitous. In India, it is the Hindu equivalent of, you go to South Philadelphia, and the little Italian grandmother has the peeling statue of the Virgin Mary in the back by the tulips. It's that common and that beloved. But if you're going to be a professional reader, the other thing you need to have is a children's oracle deck. Why? Because if it's a busy psychic fair and your client is sitting there with a little 2-year-old Muffin who is sitting on her lap, and she goes, mommy card, mommy card, mommy card. And you say, oh God, please, can Muffin pull a card? And Muffin pulls a card from your standard deck and you go, oh, look, Muffin, death. No. So you let Muffin pull a card like this, and it's a little kitty and a puppy, and it says friendship. And she gets her card and mom says, and you go on with your reading. See, these are little professional tricks you will never find anywhere except my book, You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie, is everything that I learned 18 years of being on the road, 45 weekends a year, 45,000 miles on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You really don't.
Do oracle decks have a certain number of cards too, or are those varied?
They can be anything that the creator wants them to be. To give you a look at the difference in the Ganesh deck hand.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can see it.
Yep. It's whatever moves the creator, which is why they can be so fluid.
That's awesome. So are you up? Do you want to pull a card for the listeners?
Absolutely. Do they have a question?
Oh, I don't know.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull actually from my Osho deck.
Just maybe
and I'm going to say,
give some advice or something, through a card. I don't know.
Okay,
What
very
are they maybe
simple.
struggling with?
What are the 3 things that the listeners will need to remember as they go through the holiday season?
Yep, perfect.
Number 1, suppression. Please do not push everything down thinking you have to be happy, happy, jolly, jolly because it's Christmas or whatever. No, you need to access your emotions the way you normally do.
I felt that.
No guilt, right? No guilt. If you can't do for everybody, if you take some time for yourself, no is a fabulous idea. And I want you to remember that. And third, integration. These days, there are so many different holidays and so many different people, and some people do not have family. Choose your holidays and see how you can integrate friends with them. It's not just about the family anymore. The world needs us. So reach out as you can in whatever fashion you can. Maybe it's a teddy bear for Toys for Tots. Maybe it's inviting over your old neighbor for a meal, whatever it is. That's how you integrate us all into a loving family during the holidays.
I love that. That was a beautiful card too, with the yin and yang on it and the rainbow. That was beautiful. So Corbie, let us talk about your book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road. I love the name.
Right here. Now, this is not a book on how to be a psychic. There are 6,000 books out there like that. This is a book that I wrote. Let's say you love sculpture. So you go to museums and you look at sculpture, and this is wonderful. But that doesn't mean you want to come home and grab a block of granite and a chisel and dig out the camel. So this book is the same way. You may not want to learn how to do what we do, but you want to find someone who's good. You want to find out how best to work with them, and then how to work with the information that you've gotten. And that is what that book is for. And frankly, I haven't seen one other book out there like it.
Really? And so you've got a few other books. Let's, you want to do a brief summary of those books as well?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I just told you about, you've got The Magic Who Needs a Genie. That is specifically the business end of being a psychic. So it's professional, you pay your taxes, all the stuff. And there are some things in there called Corbie Gets Candid, things you're not going to hear other places. For instance, there was a psychic fair where I had a challenging reading for a young man. He didn't like what I told him. Next day, we found an anonymous death threat on my table. But as you will see in the back of this book, I always have sign-up sheets. Trust me, it's in there somewhere.
There it is.
Okay. So that we were able to match up the handwriting with the sign-up sheet and the death threat.
Oh,
and I gave it to the local police.
Little private investigation there.
Exactly. The promoter handled it, but I had the evidence to keep me safe. This is the first book I wrote. It's called Clean Out Your Life Closet. It is clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. But I don't say do everything I taught you and it all gets better, because I haven't lived your life.
Yeah.
The chapters are all, here's some of the dumb things I did. Maybe here's a client story and here's some thoughts. But at the end of each chapter are what I call the adventure pages. And these are ways to take your life and make it work with what you just read. For instance, the chapter, How Perfect Destroys Good. Where do you beat yourself up most often and why? Reimagine one of those times with the idea that good can triumph over perfect. What does it look like? How would your life change if you stopped thinking perfection was the only correct response to a project or situation? Now, you can't turn to page 82 and get that. You have to look at your own life. So at the end of the book, that becomes your personal manual, because you help write it with me.
So it's a lot of reflection. So you go through the book and then
Huge.
reflect on yourself in your own life.
Yes.
Which is what we should
and
all
it has
be doing.
great big margins, so you can write in the margins. Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, Corbie, this has been such a very fun dialogue. So how can people find you? How can people reach out to you?
Oh my God, they can't avoid me. First thing is
If you want
go
them
to my I know. Go to my website, which is corbiemitleid.com. You can find me on YouTube, Medium, Patreon, Instagram, and Facebook. All of these are corbiemitleid.com.
Great. Well, Corbie, this was fun. Thank you so much. I love your humor. I love your energy. Keep doing what you're doing. And thanks again for coming on the show today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
You deserve to navigate your life as an empath in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT Tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.thesoulcafe.org.